5 ways to bring peace to your family. Number 2 is get curious. Now, when I was a new mom, I had lots of kids under the age of 4 of them under the age of 4. I used to get so angry and upset. And when they did things, I used to feel like, why are they doing this to me? They are making me angry. They are making me out of control. They're doing it to me. They're making me this way. And I really felt like that. Like I really felt like they were doing it to me. They were doing things that were making me lose myself. But then I realized that that's not true. That's a form of victimism. Nobody can make you angry because anger comes from within. It's the story you're telling yourself, the interpretation you're giving yourself that makes you angry, right? So instead of asking something like, why are they doing this to me? I started asking questions like, I wonder why they're behaving this way. And it was a sincere question. Like I was really curious. In fact, I viewed it almost as like I'm taking a class in child psychology. Not that I was, but it was like that approach. Like, okay, I'm taking a class. I'm studying children. I'm trying to understand them. Why is my child acting this way? And so if they were throwing a tantrum or doing whatever it was they were doing, I would come to my senses essentially, and then I would be like, interesting. I wonder why they're doing this. And I would start asking myself those types of questions. And so then instead of getting upset and feeling like I'm a victim here because my children are crazy and they're making me crazy, instead I was trying to understand their behavior instead of feeling an emotional response to their behavior, right? So I would ask myself things like, especially as I learned more about child psychology and child development, I would say, well, I wonder if they're hungry. Or are they tired? Did they not sleep well last night? Or they need a nap? Or was someone mean to them? Did their sibling just take away their toy or hit them or something? Or did I say something that made them feel sad or hurt or angry? Or, as we learn more about food, did they eat something? Because that actually plays a bigger role than many of us realize. Like, did they eat Skittles with red dye number 40, right? And that can really affect behavior, weird things like that. So I started getting really curious. Now, the amazing thing is, because now I have been doing this so long, even my youngest children, like my 7-year-old, she now has the ability to tell me. She'll be like, I'll notice if she starts kind of acting up or acting weird, which now is very subtle, right? It's not like it used to be. It used to be a tantrum or it used to be a big thing. Now it will just
we would miss all the clues leading up to the
right. Now we can pick up on the clues early on. So even the slightest little like feistiness or disobedience or whatever, I pick up on it. I'm like, oh, what's going on? What's wrong? What's the matter? And now she'll tell me. She'll be like, I feel like you were rude when you said that. And so then that immediately gives me an opportunity to talk through it with her, to apologize if necessary. And then there we go. Now the problem's solved. She feels better. I feel better. And there's no like outburst. It's a very simple thing of I can notice that something's off. I ask her what's wrong. She tells me what's wrong. I fix it. We go on. It's solved, right? So that's way, in my mind, easier and better than waiting for huge outbursts because children also experience emotional stacking, right? If their siblings mean to them and then you say something to them, and then you get after them and then dad does something, like it stacks and stacks and stacks. And that's usually where we get tantrums or emotional outbursts or feistiness from teenagers. It's because it's been stacking for days or weeks or whatever. If we can start to pay attention to those things and address them before they keep getting stacked on, it's amazing that then it has the opposite effect. Because if I can switch the emotions around and take them from feeling frustrated, irritated, annoyed to a more positive emotion because now they've cuddled with mom and we've resolved this little issue and now they feel better. They move through the day and they move through the family with good feelings instead of negative feelings. That has a compounding effect. So they don't go from being hurt by something you said to hurting their brother to then who hurts their other sibling. And it has this chain effect, domino effect. They go from resolving that issue to feeling good to then going and playing happily with their sibling. And then it spreads. It's a positive effect that spreads, right? So
Awesome.
that essentially comes from curiosity, because when you're curious, especially with practice, then you learn, oh, the real problem here is my child's hungry or they need a cuddle. And then if you do that thing, you've now resolved the problem and you don't have a behavior issue to fix. You have a resolution, right? Where too many people, too many parents, and I know this was me, they think my kid is misbehaving. I need to discipline and punish them. That's what I'm going to do. Instead, I took a new approach where I'm like, no, I'm not going to discipline or punish this behavior because the real cause of the behavior is this underlying issue. And if I address that, the behavior goes away. Plus, I've strengthened the relationship with my child. Everyone's better off. And I have a better long-term outcome because I had a short-term outcome that focused on fixing the relationship rather than disciplining or punishing the behavior.
And this curiosity piece gets into the big stuff too, you guys. So like you might be like, why doesn't my son do his studies? Why won't he sit there and do his lesson? Why is he misbehaving in school? On and on. And then you start getting curious why. And then you start reading a book about boys and you're like, oh man, no boy should have to sit still in a desk and do studies. They are
For hours
not
on end.
wired for that. They are not created for that. And we are fighting the very creation of boys and men when we're wanting to do things that they are not made to do. Let that sink in. So curiosity stops. You're like, oh, all of this misbehaving is because I'm trying to force a boy to do something he was never designed to do. I'm killing his masculinity. And then on top of that, blaming him for misbehaving. There's nothing wrong with that kid. He's being forced to do things he was never created to do. Same with like a boy who's in between like 11 and 14. Anything that requires effort, he's out. That's just the age. Like he's 12, 13, 14. He's like, I don't want to. Oh, great. My kid's going to be a loser. No, he's just 13. It's like, that's what he does. Atlas, our son Atlas is just coming out of that. But we spent the last 3 years of like, oh boy. It's like,
They know they were here.
yeah, you guys, we've been talking about it for so long because he's in the stage. Every one of our kids went through that. So I'm
Well,
not
especially the boys.
the boys. So I'm not gonna get upset at Kimball when Kimball was
Kimball, I like
especially like this in that age
legit. Kimball was an annoying 11,
and
12,
wouldn't do
13-year-old
anything.
kid.
You
Like
guys,
he was
he
so
would not participate in a family picture. If you look
I
at
could not
any
get a
of our
picture
family
with him.
pictures when he was 11, 13,
Traveling
it
to the
was him
game.
rolling his eyes like this. Like we couldn't bribe him, we couldn't threaten him. There was nothing. He was going to be annoying. And now he is one of the hardest working, solid, mature men that I know. I would trust him to take care of almost anything. But when you would have, if you would have met him at 12, you'd be like, oh, this kid's a piece of work. It was the stage. Okay, so be curious.